Hi folks! So what you'll be doing today with your groups after you're done reading your assigned novel and verse is to create a group stanza or a set of group stanzas that summarizes what you've read this week. Our learning targets are listed right here, and you can see that really what you're doing is you're taking all of the skills that we've learned so far during our poetry unit and you're putting them together in these group stanzas. So the directions are to create at least 2 stanzas that summarize this week's reading from your novel and verse. You're essentially creating a summary in the form of a poem, which is kind of a nifty idea. The stanzas should demonstrate to me your group's overall knowledge and understanding of the novel that you've read together. The requirements for the poem are listed right on the side. You've got to have at least 2 stanzas, lines with end, stop, and enjambment, a thoughtful, clever title, at least 2 examples of sound devices or figurative language, and show an overall solid summary of the novel and verse. So a lot of my groups start with this because it's easier sometimes to have a starting point that's familiar. So a lot of groups will start by writing a summary paragraph of what they've read this week. They should include something about the characters, the setting, the plot, and the conflict. So I did this with a book called Touching Spirit Bear for what I read. I said Cole started scavenging for food nearby because he couldn't move. He is still banished to an Alaskan island in September. He was covered in hundreds of mosquitoes and horseflies. He ate grass worms, bugs, and beetles, and he caught a mouse in his hand. That's my summary paragraph. Then for step 2, I can take that paragraph and transform it into an actual poem, again including stuff about the characters, the setting, the plot, and the conflict. So I did that. You can see the poem that I wrote over on the right-hand side. Once you've got your poem written, you're going to identify what's in your poem, including all of those things that you see listed right there. You can use the grading checklist to ensure that you have all of the items. So I went through and did that, and now you can see that I have not 2, but actually 4 different stanzas. I have 7 examples of end stop that I've circled in red. I've got at least 6 examples of enjambment, those I squared in green. I have a title that's more than just what we read this week in quotation marks. I called mine Scavenging in September. I've identified with a number 1 and a number 2 my examples of assonance and alliteration in my poem. And then I got to double check, did I have characters, setting, plot, and conflict mention? And yes, I had all of those things, so yes, I did a great job summarizing. That's what you're going to do with your group today. You're going to create a couple of group stanzas to summarize your reading. If you don't finish before the end of class today, please make sure that you put it into the bin before you leave, whether it's done or not done. That way it's here for you on Monday to continue working on. Have a great weekend.